Neemias Queta is coming back to the Boston Celtics for a couple of years after the Boston Celtics did sign Neemias Queta to a multi-year deal. We're not exactly sure for how much. Those details are still TBD, but it looks like Brad Stevens is on this trend to pretty much re-sign the entire roster and run it back. Why do I say that? Because he already re-signed Luke Cornet with the first move in NBA free agency. About an hour later, he re-signed Xavier Tillman. Neemias Queta. Now, what does that mean for Xavier Tillman? Will he also get re-signed? Will Brad Stevens sign somebody from the outside, or will he just completely run back the entire roster that just won the NBA championship? Well, here's the latest tweet from Shams Charania with The Athletic. Free agent big man Neemias Queta has agreed on a multi-year deal to stay with the Boston Celtics. And honestly, I was a little bit more surprised by the Neemias Queta deal than I was with Luke Cornet. Not entirely surprised, because I do know Brad Stevens had already previously mentioned that he loves Neemias Queta. He does hope a deal gets worked out, but it just wasn't on the top of the priority list. Why? Because the Celtics have a lot of priorities this offseason. They have to extend Jayson Tatum, possibly Derek White, possibly Sam Hauser. They just re-signed Luke Cornet, and now Neemias Queta. So with that being said, if the Boston Celtics do make any other moves, we will have it right here for you guys in Celtics Today by Chat Sports. Go on ahead, hit that sub button for me. 38,276 of you have already subscribed to the channel. Let's see if we can get to 39K here, while myself and producer Smitty, we break down what we think about Big Neemi signing back to the Boston Celtics.
Listen, if they want to run it back, I am completely okay with this. You add 2 draft picks in the NBA draft, Baylor Shireman and Anton Watson. But other than that, you're bringing back the crew that just raised Banner 18 in Boston. And Neemias Queta is somebody that, when they signed him back at the beginning of the NBA season, it was not somebody who they envisioned would play huge minutes or be a high-impact player right away. This seemed like somebody who is going to be a developmental player for the Boston Celtics' future. And with this multi-year deal that they're signing Neemias Queta to right now, it seems like that is the plan. It seems like they have a belief in Neemias Queta that he can become an impact player over the next couple of years, obviously with Al Horford on the verge of retirement and maybe potentially after next season. Kristaps Porzingis, with his health, you never know when he's going to be available or for how long. You needed more front court depth, and that's why Brad goes out, re-signs Luke Cornet, and now re-signs Neemias Queta for a long-term deal. Could be 2 years, could be 3, we don't know just yet. But we know it's a multi-year deal, and it's something that they want to work on with Neemias Queta for the foreseeable future, being a member of this Boston Celtics team and making an impact.
Neemias Queta was a huge part of the main Celtics this last year that did compete for the NBA G League championship. But then Neemias Queta was actually the last signing the Boston Celtics made in the 2023-24 regular season. They had to sign him to a 2-way contract. That way he could play in the finals, the playoffs if they needed him to. They didn't really utilize him at all in the playoffs, not even really Luke Cornet neither. But I do think that Neemias Queta, you know I've been a huge fan of Neemias Queta since the preseason. I love his size. I love his rim protection. And here's what he did. Obviously only played about 11.9 minutes per game. Let's just go ahead and round up for shits and giggles to 12. But he averaged 5.5 points. And yes, those 5.5 points came from nowhere on the court, but inside the paint, which is what your true big's supposed to do. 4.5 boards per game in 11 minutes per game. Nearly 1 block. And he shot 65% from the field. Neemias Queta, obviously, like Smitty said, he's not going to be your starter. Hell, he's not even going to be in your second or third deep on the depth chart. But he is a progressing player. He's 24 years old. He has made most of his impact when it comes to the NBA G League, just like a lot of guys who got their start here. But Brad Stevens sees what he could be, not what he is right now. And you know what we saw with Peyton Pritchard as well, Smith, is that he signed Peyton Pritchard to a 4-year contract extension before he had a phenomenal season with the Boston Celtics. So maybe Brad Stevens is seeing something here in the depth chart behind Kristaps Porzingis, because we do know KP is not expected to start his season until December. And I mean, that's still just a gauge, just a guesstimate of when he could return. We know he will not start the NBA season He could make a return late November, as we do see here from Tim Bontemps. The Celtics say Kristaps Porzingis had surgery to repair his dislocated tendon in his left leg, and he will be able to return to play in 5 to 6 months. So not only did you re-sign Luke Cornet, you also re-signed Neemias Queta, because these are two bigs who have already played behind Porzingis and they understand their role. The only person that has yet to re-sign with the Boston Celtics is Xavier Tillman.
Now, could he get a bigger payday? Who knows? Maybe it's something around a $5 million deal for Xavier Tillman, because we know the Celtics, with their cap space situation, can only re-sign him to a veteran minimum contract. And he's only 25 years old. He still has a lot of room to grow and develop as a player and earn money in his NBA career. You know, that taking minimum contracts is something you're not supposed to be doing until you've already made your money, right? But with Xavier Tillman, yeah, they could re-sign him, but I'm just glad that Brad Stevens was able to lock up some front court depth behind Kristaps Porzingis, as we know he will miss the start of the NBA season, maybe even the first 2-3 months of the NBA season. And Neemias Queta is somebody who just gave 110% every single time he went out on the floor. And I'm a fan of the energy that he brought. I'm a fan of the ability to protect the rim, the ability to grab offensive rebounds, to get second chance points, to be a lob threat. Neemias Queta is a guy who is just going to be an energy boost when he is out there on the floor. Now, were there instances this season where he wasn't necessarily in the right spot, where
he got beat?
Did he get beat?
He got beat a couple times.
Not really a focal point, but was he really a productive member of the offense? Probably not. But these are all things that he's learning, right? Like, he is not a guy who's going to come in super polished right away and be able to impact winning at a super high level, but he's going to be another depth piece for this Boston Celtics team that I think is going to make an impact over the next couple of years. He's not a finished product yet, and you just hope that with another offseason, with another year underneath this Celtics training staff and developmental staff, you hope that he can become a viable rotation piece, especially when you consider the health of Kristaps Porzingis, the age and health of Al Horford, and the effectiveness of Luke Cornet in many situations. You know, that we talked about it earlier today about him not being super effective in many situations in the postseason. Maybe Neemias Queta can help mold himself into a player that is viable in those playoff situations. I'm excited to see what's to come of him, and I'm glad that they locked this up for a multi-year deal.
I am too. Like I said, Brad Stevens, I'll trust him with my life. I think he's more brilliant than myself, than Smitty combined. So that's not saying much on my end, but nonetheless, I do think that Brad Stevens is trying not only to think of the next season of what it could take to win Banner 19, but when you've got a pretty young basketball team, you got Al Horford, you got Drew Holiday on your team, but overall, you're still a pretty young basketball team with Jayson Tatum being 26 years old, Xavier Tillman being 25 years old, who's now currently a free agent, but could come back. Same here, Neemias Queta, just re-signed him, he's 24 years old. And I do think that next couple of years, Neemias Queta could be a pretty good big, if not to stay in the Celtics, to be a trade asset, if anything, moving forward.
Absolutely.
But now that Brad Stevens has re-signed Neemias Queta and Luke Cornet, go on ahead and pick one to play. I've seen a lot in the comment section. I'll tell you what, you ask me in October of 2023 who I'm picking Neemias Queta. But Luke Cornet stepped up his play this year, and I can't rule him out anymore and all of his dabs that come with his play. Let me know who you guys want to play. Type NQ for Neemias Queta. Type LK for Luke Cornet. Go ahead and comment that down below. As always, hit that sub button for me. Join 38,000 loyal subscribers here on Celtics Today. Anything and everything on the Boston Celtics, you're going to find it right here on Celtics Today by Chat Sports. So all you guys have to do to be completely in the know for free is subscribe to our channel.